Hey guys, all right, we promised that we would show you what we had in mind in terms of the battle mechanics. In the previous video, we talked about this awesome tech tree that gives you all kinds of opportunities and advantages. And I've just set up something between Carthage and Rome to show you how battle would entail. Imagine a few rounds into the game, Carthage has really focused on purchasing these food storage units, which have allowed it to grow its army, while Rome has used its it's focused its military power on its elite unit, this massive war elephant. Rome, on the other hand, raised enough money to upgrade its infantry, and it's a spearman upgrade that gives it +1 strength whenever it faces cavalry, right? So that's how both sides have diversified their strategy. Rome has also purchased a pretty powerful hero at 12. It had purchased one of these academies that cost it $10, and it placed it in Brundisium. And so it spent 20 currency getting that card, getting that upgrade, while Carthage has spent mostly its finances on these food storages and this elite unit. And let's assume a war is about to ensue. Carthage is currently in Germania, and again, I apologize for this massive war elephant. It'll be a lot smaller in the next print. And this war elephant has a total strength of 4. There are 3 cavalry units with a total strength of 6, and another 2 infantry units for a total strength of 2. So the total here is a strength of 12. The Carthaginian military is quite powerful. Rome, on the other hand, has 3 cavalry units, so that's 6. It has 2 infantry, but remember, Rome has upgraded its military tactics, so each infantry is actually worth 2, given that they're facing a lot of cavalry. And so their total army strength is 10. Carthage is 12, but Rome also has these 2 new units in the game. And again, I'm just using worker meeples for this. We haven't actually produced an archer meeple yet, but it has 2 archers with it, right? And instead of waiting for Carthage to attack, even though Rome would gain a defensive bonus of 2 from this fort in the Alps, it decides to move ahead and press its luck before Carthage earns more money and maybe is able to upgrade one of its tactics. So, Rome would declare that it's attacking Carthage. Its total army strength is 10 with 2 archers. Carthage has a total army strength of 12. And unlike the Conqueror base game, Carthage here doesn't get any defensive bonus. And the reason behind this is it doesn't have any forts. So in the new game, the only territories that provide you with defensive bonuses are the small forts, which is +1. The big forts is +2, and capitals are +4, right? So in this case, there is no defensive bonus. It's 10 versus 12. And now this is the really interesting scenario. And something that's new to the game is Carthage can actually reinforce its army. So imagine the war has started this way. I forgot to turn these over. These moved over during Carthage's turn, and so they were flipped sideways to show that they've been exhausted. These have actually been static. Carthage has not used them. Maybe it's used these armies, right? So it's moved in here into Germania, right? So now with this battle, Rome can call on any reinforcements for any of its military units that are bordering Germania. In this case, it doesn't have any. If it had the unit in Illyria, this unit could have reinforced them during battle, but it doesn't. In this case, Carthage can actually reinforce. It can reinforce from Celtica, it could reinforce from Gaul, or it could reinforce from the sea. Here are 2 crucial rules for reinforcement. What reinforcement means is they'll join the battle. First of all, Carthage can only pick 1 army to reinforce it. So it can only pick 1 territory, whether it's Celtica, Gaul, or the sea. And the rationale behind this is this was back in 200 or 300 BC. A coordinated reinforcement effort and a coordinated attack from 3 different countries would have been almost impossible to pull off. So the best case scenario is they could have coordinated a defense or an attack using a maximum of 1 army. So the Carthaginian player can either decide to reinforce himself through Gaul or through Celtica. He cannot reinforce himself from the sea, because the sea is not adjacent to Germanica. But even if it was, even if these units were in Illyria, if they've been exhausted, i.e. they've been used during Carthage's turn in this round, they can no longer reinforce. So this is the rule, is you can reinforce with units provided that they haven't been used during that turn, because this will exhaust them. So if I do this with Carthage, this means that these units have now joined the battle from Gaul, but they can no longer move on Carthage's turn, right? So that's super critical and super important for you to keep in mind, is there's a cost of reinforcement, as these units can no longer move on your next turn. So here the battle strength has even shifted further. Carthage now has a battle strength of 12 plus these reinforcements of 3, so that's a total of 15, and Rome still has a total strength of 10 only, and this hero card that it's purchased. So the battle ensues. There's no defensive bonus. The first thing in a battle is the archer volley, and here Rome has 2 archers. It's going to go for a volley, so it's going to roll these 2 die, and it's going to hit on any 4s. And remember, the die has 2 4s. So we roll 2 dice and we got 1 hit, which is a 4. That means that would automatically eliminate one of Carthage's units, and we start off with cavalry. And this is, this is the cavalry unit that is lost. And so Rome was able to shave off 2 strength from Carthage, which is quite powerful. Now the Carthaginian army is down to 13, and the Roman army is now at 10, and a battle is going to ensue. The Carthaginian army is still stronger, right, because these units are reinforcing them. And what happens is you get to play the hero card just like any other Conqueror game. And since Carthage doesn't have any hero cards purchased, I'll just show this. It's Africanos gives you +2 strength, and every Roman cavalry gets 1 strength. So that's a total strength of 5, given that there are 3 cavalry units. So Rome's strength has gone up to 15, while Carthage is stuck at 13. Now the battle ensues. Each side rolls 1 die. Rome rolls a 1, Carthage rolls a 2. Rome still wins. It wins by a strength of 1, given that the hero card gave it a strength of 15, so that's +1, 16, while Carthage now has a total strength of 15. Carthage needs to lose 1 unit of strength 1, so that's an infantry unit, and it needs to retreat, and it chooses to retreat to Gaul. And during that retreat, the Roman army moves in. It leaves perhaps a cavalry unit behind, and these units are now exhausted. Unlike the base game, these units can no longer move again as an army. We might be introducing a rule where cavalry can follow up, and maybe they don't roll a dice, or they have some sort of disadvantage of attacking again. But generally speaking, once an army has crossed into a country, even if they're victorious, they would have to stop. They would earn 1 currency for their victory, as is customary. And unlike a normal or a Conqueror Final Conquest game, this is not discarded. This is now placed face up next to the Roman player, and one of his tokens is placed on it. And that means that he can actually use this hero card 1 more time in a future battle. And if he does, he just removes this token to signify that he's used it a 2nd time. And he would immediately discard the card. So these are actually a lot more valuable now because you can use them twice during the game. One, when no one knows what's in your hand and you can play it. But once you've played it, it's open knowledge to everyone, and everyone can see that you have that general waiting to be utilized one final time. So that's how a battle works. Now, keep in mind that once Greece and Egypt plays and we start a new phase and the chronicle cards and everything, all the stuff that I mentioned, earning income, etc., goes ahead. When it's Carthage's turn, these two units will not move because they were exhausted during Rome's turn, right? And only at the end of the turn do they stand up again, right? So that's the cost of reinforcing, is that now if you wanted to launch a counterattack, these two units which were exhausted last round in reinforcing when it wasn't your turn can no longer carry out that counterattack because they've used up their action. That's how battle mechanics more or less work. It's similar to what it was before. You just have these elite units. You have the hero that's being used twice. You have, you can no longer do 2 attacks, but more importantly, you have these archers that can dish out damage on your cavalry, and that kind of helps balance the game. And now you have more, you have a better opportunity to basically. Before, during the base game, you would only recruit cavalry. There was no reason to recruit infantry except early on when you wanted maybe to expand your phases, but your territories. But now, knowing that cavalry is going to be hit with archers first, it gets you thinking about whether recruiting an army inclusive or fully composed of cavalry is the right idea. That's how we're also thinking about how we kind of work with the independent armies and how we work with that. But one thing that I forgot to mention here is, imagine both Rome and Carthage had rolled a 4, and you rule as well as if the loser of the battle rolls a 4, regardless of how much he's lost, he gets to deal 1 damage to the opponent's army. And that's a way to make sure that, if you have a good roll, you're still able to deliver a gruesome kind of, or at least weaken your army, even though you might have lost infantry units yourself. Now, the biggest, I think, 2 upgrades to the battle mechanics that we haven't talked about this in this video, and we're going to shoot a video on this, are military experience and siege battles, and that's going to come up soon.